Today I'm doing something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is a simple solo overnight bikepacking trip. So this weekend is actually the same weekend of the Forgotten Florida bikepacking tour that I did last year, but because of work and my recent lower back injury that's getting a lot better now, I just decided to do a one-night solo because I really need to test out my new setup. So this year I'm on a hardtail. Last year I was on a gravel bike, and I've kind of simplified my setup. So it's down to 4 bags. So I've got 2 rear bags, I've got the saddle bag, and then I've got a handlebar roll. And I really want to get out and test it along with a new hammock setup that I'll show you. So I've got my Artlead bags all packed up, ready to go. I'm going to go put them on the bike and show you the setup, and then we'll get going and I'll tell you more about what I'm doing for today's ride and tonight's stay. All right, so here's the bike. Before I load it up with the bags, really the only thing I'm going to do is add the rack and then just put on the bags. I did add about 12 PSI to the fork, and I've got this little KOM Cycling top cap so I can keep the handlebar clean when I put the handlebar roll on there, because the Garmin's going to go there. All right, let's get this thing loaded up. And there it is, loaded up. Handlebar roll, since it was the first time I used it, took a few minutes. Just had to make sure I knew how to put that one on. So handlebar roll, seat pack, and 2 fork bags. And then on the top, I've got my underquilt and then the tarp. And then of course my shoes. The mistake I made when I first did this last year is I used bungee straps, and those were too elastic. So these straps that cinch down are much better. And then I've got my Garmin Varia on the back. I'm gonna wear a hydration pack, and I've got 2 water bottles. I'll stop tonight before I get to the campsite and refill water for, showering and also cooking dinner. So we're about 10 miles in. I got about a mile out, or mile and a half out, and realized I forgot to put the mirror on my bike, so I had to turn around and go back. The first few miles of a bikepacking tour are just a little stressful. Like, you're worried about if you got everything, or if you put the bags on right, especially if you're new to bikepacking like I am, just, hoping you got everything strapped on right. But a few miles in, it's like you just settle in, and the pace is whatever you want to do. It's party pace today. I'm just chilling. Really liking this hardtail. It's a Reynolds 853, so it's got some flex to it, and it's just really comfortable. The route that I'm doing is going to be, probably like 70–80% gravel. So what I'm gonna do is I've got about 58 miles. Well, it's supposed to be 56, but added about 3, so about 59, 60. And I'll end up at the campsite. So I'm taking this big loop, doing a gravel route that I've only done a couple times. It's a beautiful route. And then I will tomorrow kind of head straight back to the house. So I could not have had better weather for this. The temperatures right now are low 70s. Supposed to be down, I think mid 40s tonight, and it's a full moon. Clear. So it's break time. I'm about 24.5 miles in. The ride is going really well. I do have a pretty constant headwind, like 5 to 10 miles an hour. Pretty much like probably 3/4 of this route today, because I'm going way north and then coming back south just a little bit. But it's going all right. Peanut butter honey sandwich. The bread came out of the bread machine like right before I was ready to leave. So it's so fresh, so good. The bike's running really well. This steel hardtail, I'm loving it for bikepacking. It does move around some, it flexes, but it flexes so that it absorbs the bumps. Like when you're going downhill, it almost feels like you have a flat tire. But I'm really liking it. The bags are running great. I mentioned that I have 4 bags. If I were doing credit card camping, like, just staying in a hotel and eating at restaurants and whatnot, man, I could get away with just like 1 bag. Either the seat pack or the handlebar roll, definitely 2. The handlebar roll is nice because it balances out the weight of the bike. If you had all your bags on the back, the front end would just be too squirrely. The thing is, the sleep system takes up probably at least half of my storage space, to include the stuff strapped on the back of the bike. So I'm doing something new on this trip. I'm staying at a Hipcamp. I know I'm late to the game. I didn't even know what a Hipcamp was until a couple months ago. And I'd heard about it, like someone told me about a Hipcamp, but I didn't really know what it was. And if you don't know, it's basically the Airbnb of camping. So you get people who just have a bunch of land and they open it up for camping. Now, some of them are like more like a designated campsite, and some of them, like what I'm doing tonight, I think is just like someone's, you know, they got a lot of acreage, and I think there's a sinkhole on it, and it looks really cool. So we're gonna check it out. So I'm gonna finish my sandwich and continue on. I'll probably take one more break, fill up my hydration pack at a convenience store in some town, and then head out to the house that I got to meet the person. They're going to take me out to the campsite. So this is adventure. I love it. Here's a gravel road that I have only done twice. So now we're on this loop, like I said earlier in the video, that I've only done 2 times, and it's beautiful. Surface is great, lots of shade, just beautiful. I'm loving this. The more I ride, the more distant work troubles are. I did have to do a bunch of errands around the house. I got out probably, I'd say like an hour late today. I had to cut up a branch that had fallen. It was the top of a tree actually that broke during the hurricanes last year and finally fell off this week. So I had to cut that up and clean it up. It took a while. And now we're riding. It's a good day. Just have mile after mile after mile of pristine gravel roads. This is such a good route. I found some friends to take my next break with. One more sandwich stop, and then my next stop will be my final rest stop in the town of Fort White, where I'll get some water for tonight and tomorrow. Hey there. So we just turned onto this major road after being on gravel for a very, very, very long time. Fortunately, there's a nice bike lane next to the road, so we're coming into Fort White. Gonna refill our water. That's what I need. Zephyr Hills 100% spring water. Well, I actually cut off about 4 miles. The headwind was really slowing me down. I mean, I had a headwind for the first 42 miles. So I think it's going to be around 54 total. So cut off probably 4 or 5 miles. You know, with leaving late, like I was running out of time to be able to relax and chill out and set up camp and eat dinner and explore the area. So we're almost there. Well, the lady in the white Honda CR-V up ahead just pulled up next to me and said, "Clint, follow me." So I think their house is over there to the left, but I'm following her, I think about half a mile to the campsite. We are at the campsite. So this is, like I said, my first time using Hipcamp, and I picked a good one. So got posts for my hammock already there. I mean, there's plenty of trees, but that's all I need. It's great. And you got a picnic table, fire ring, which I'm not going to be using tonight. And down that trail, I'll show you in a few minutes, there's a cave, like a legit cave. So this is awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of rinse off. There's water down in the sinkhole that I could swim in, but honestly didn't get that sweaty on my ride tonight. We're actually gonna go look at the cave now before I shower off and set up the hammock, because it's gonna be easier to walk down in my mountain bike shoes as opposed to my Adidas slides, because it's kind of steep getting down there. It's a pretty big drop down to the bottom of the sinkhole. All right, so this is the trail that goes down in there. I do have a headlamp for this. Oh yeah, this is sweet. Yeah, this is pretty steep. Probably can't tell the camera here, but yeah, this is very steep. She said some trees fell during the hurricanes, kind of blocked the entrance, but they've had some volunteers. Oh, that's muddy, that's slippery. Had some volunteers to clean it up. All right, I'm gonna have to use my hands here. I'll pick it up when I get down there. Dude, how cool is this? That water's pretty clear. She said people swim in it a lot. So I've got my light on. It's not doing much. I'm using this pure video mode on this Insta360 camera. Seems to be doing a pretty good job. But yeah, it's just a water-filled cave that I could like rinse off in. This is awesome. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna get in there and rinse off and save some water. Nice. She said this rises and falls with the river. So we're close to the Santa Fe River. So tonight I'm gonna be using the Eno Skylight. This is a great little hammock. I also have a War Bonnet Ridge Runner. I use this when temperatures aren't going to be below about 45, because Eno doesn't really have a super cold underquilt. The underquilt that I have is rated down to 30, but I have to add about 15 degrees. I sleep cold, and plus it's just more humid where I live, and it makes a difference. So again, it's going to be right down to my limit, about 45 to 47 tonight. And I'm also going to set up the Rainfly, because the dew point is 47 and it's going to hit the dew point, maybe go right below it, and I just don't want to wake up all wet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. And there's the setup. Just got the underquilt on. Got my Outdoor Vitals top quilt, my Nemo pillow. I'm ready for a good night's sleep, y'all. That was a long 55 miles. Man, I think I averaged like 13 and a half because of the headwind and the bike loaded down, and man, yeah, that took a long time. All right, I'm gonna make some dinner. I tell you what, having a picnic table to spread your stuff out on is gold. Like, this is a luxury that I was not expecting, but I'm taking full advantage of it. Dinner tonight is 3-bean chili mac. Macaroni noodles, beans, and vegetables in a sweet chili sauce. So that was the right call, cutting the ride short by 4 miles. That saved me quite a bit of time, probably 20 minutes, which I needed because it's getting dark and I really want to go to bed early tonight. I'm tired. I didn't want to be cooking dinner and whatnot in the dark. So yeah, I'm gonna eat my 3-bean chili here in a minute, and then I'm just gonna get in the hammock and read for a while and go to sleep. This is really good. They made a lot of food. Plenty of dinner for me. I get my camp meals from REI, and they're great. I mean, you just cook them in the bag. You don't have to worry about, cleaning dishes and whatnot. You just add the water in the bag, let it sit for 10 minutes, and it's good to go. It's great to have a hot meal like this after eating peanut butter and honey sandwiches and bars all day. You want something a little bit more savory. Not a bad sunset. Saw 4 or 5 deer over in the field over there. I do not want to get out of this comfy hammock and top quilt. It's like 6:30. This is the latest I've stayed in bed in a very long time. I've been listening to dueling owls, roosters, and the birds this morning. It's been great. But I do have to get up pretty soon. I stayed warm. This Vulcan underquilt for the Eno hammock was fine. And this Outdoor Vitals top quilt was the best purchase I've ever made. And I did use the Outdoor Vitals balaclava. That's a key. That's very key. All right, I'm gonna get up in a few minutes and make some oatmeal. We definitely hit the dew point last night. My bags are soaked on my bike, but I'm so glad they're waterproof. I did close them, so all good. The bike's all wet. The problem with the posts that I use is that they weren't as firmly grounded as like a tree would be, and they kind of moved in, which made the rain tarp sag down, and so I didn't get enough separation. So the hammock's wet, everything inside the tarp's wet, so I got to pack up everything really wet. I would love to wait like a few hours and let everything dry out, but I got to get back to the house. So packed up and ready to go. Everything is wet. The dew just got everything wet, but it's 45 degrees and it's a little chilly. My toes are cold, but we'll warm up shortly, so time to hit the road. All right, coming into High Springs, which means we are only about 10 miles from the house. Warmed up quickly. It's already 57 degrees and I'm only 32 minutes into the ride. So I'm about a mile from the house. Thanks for hanging with me on this one night bikepacking tour. I've been meaning to do this for quite a while, so I'm glad I finally got out to do it. Hopefully it inspires you to have your own adventures, whatever it may be. With that, I'm gonna end this video and I'll catch you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so for all kind of gear reviews, bike reviews, and ride videos. Thanks for watching.